Hi, Srivali.
Hi, Shanti.
So, in today's discussion, how we can maximize the benefits of Azure DevOps for implementing effective CI/CD process. So, let us walk through. I have prepared a document. So, in the realm of software development, leveraging Azure DevOps for continuous integration and continuous delivery involves a well-structured approach. Here is a guidelines for harnessing DevOps effectively and significantly benefiting from its capabilities. So basically, this is a continuous deployment process, which has when you say continuous deployment, there will be different builds can be integrated with existing production release, whatever it was released in the previous builds. Okay,
Mm,
so first thing is understanding Azure DevOps as CI/CD services. Okay,
mm,
so what is this one? Azure DevOps is a comprehensive suite that facilitates the orchestration of CI/CD pipelines. For deployment, incremental deployment, it is going to orchestrate it. So automation build, it has got automation build, test and deployment phases seamlessly. So all these are they are coincided with the agile deployment process basically. It
mhm.
provides a visual representation of workflows and integrates with various Azure services, enabling cohesive development environment. So everything is shown in the workflows. In the workflows, it is just like a dashboard kind of thing. It shows the pictures, then we can see them. Then creating a
Mm,
pipeline with Azure DevOps, how it is. The process begins with initiating pipeline creation through the Azure DevOps portal. So in the portal, normally DevOps is a service. Azure DevOps is a service. You need to use that and select that. So you select a source provider, either Azure
mhm.
repository or GitHub. If you take any cloud, either AWS or GCP or Azure, there are code repositories within the cloud services. You can create those repositories. Azure repository, you can create it. You can upload as a developer the code into that, like in the
Mhm.
GitHub, how we do it. The same way it can be accessed. Sorry. Then you configure repository settings, define build and deployment providers, and review the configuration before creating the pipeline. Normally, what happens when you use Azure DevOps portal, you select the pipeline creation. When you create it, it
Mm,
will ask for the repository. Then you need to follow that settings, parameter settings. Once it
mm.
is completed, you will have to review it and approve it, submit it. Then pipeline is
Yeah.
going to be created. It. See, what is the source here? When you say uh, for deployment, what you need to do? First, you need to do some kind of development process, unit testing. After that, you are going to do integration testing. Then later on, you are going to deploy into QA testing. Then later on, you are going to give it to users for testing. Then
Mhm.
after that, you are going to deploy it in the production. All these
Mhm.
are different environments basically. So,
Mhm.
what is environment in cloud? Can you tell me as per your understanding?
In cloud, um,
Hmm.
so for every project deployment, for every time you deploy the code, you have
Hmm.
to set up an environment. So the environment means it contains servers, and it contains the network, and it contains whatever security rules you have to configure, and it also contains the software installations on the servers, and uh, uh, security for so the settings that are required for security purpose, like firewall, those kind of settings, or gateway settings, and the VPN. So that's an environment.
How are you going to deploy in different phases?
How am I going
How
to
are,
deploy
how are
different
you going to
phase?
identify that? It is integration testing environment. It is QA testing environment like that. What is the
Uh,
identification?
Identification of an environment. Um,
Where they are staying, these servers?
They are staying, if they are created in Azure, they are, so in the region, whichever region you're creating, they on those data centers, on the data center machines, they are created.
How are you going to identify the missions?
It's by region, let's say East US, West
Region, the
US.
region is identified by what? Let us say region is there. Mumbai
Yeah,
region is there. In Mumbai region,
yeah.
you have deployed all these. Somebody said, I have deployed all these servers. I have set up three environments, he said. Then you as a QA tester or
Mm.
DevOps engineer, how are you going to identify these environments? On what basis? On what identification?
How am I going to identify the
Okay.
environments is
Yeah,
by,
let us assume you have WordPress
Mhm.
site.
Yeah.
How are you going to deploy? What is the first step?
So first I'll create the infrastructure
What is that
required.
infrastructure means? What does it mean?
The infrastructure involves virtual network, subnets, the machine, the virtual machine, which is the server, and the server installation, which could be Linux or Windows or whichever one, and then
Okay, okay.
yeah.
Hold on there. Now I
Mm.
said create three different WordPress environments in the
Mm-hmm.
same region. I said, what are you going to do? How are you going to do?
Oh, in the same region.
Yes.
Okay, in the same. Oh, the resource group. There is a resource group that is the container of all the resources. So you create a resource group, and you can use a Terraform script, or you can use Python if you want to do IAC, or if you want to just by screen operations, you can just go ahead and deploy your
Where
network
this
settings
environment is sitting in cloud, where it is sitting, these three
in data
environments, where they are
centers,
sitting. Huh?
in the data center machines.
No, how are you going to identify in the data center missions all these things? There should be some identification, right?
Yeah, so
Through
the
what?
identification is the region. So the resource group, wherever
No,
the
no,
resource
region I
group,
said Mumbai region you
yeah,
have been given. Now
yeah,
there are so many VMs are running.
yeah.
Now, which VM belongs to integration testing environment? Which VM belongs to QA testing? How are you going to identify? On what basis?
You will have to tag the machines. Um,
No, no, missions are tagged. Like assume everything is there for VM identification.
hmm,
But how are you going to identify on what
okay,
basis the infrastructure is designed? What for VNet is there? Different VNets you are creating when you say you
yeah,
are creating three versions of the WordPress setup. What for VNet is
yeah,
there?
you,
And where they are sitting? On network they are sitting, these machines. Physically you take
yeah,
in the data center or logically cloud virtual machines. You are creating first networks. Each network you
hmm,
are naming it as different environments names. So it can be integration testing, it can be QA testing. So with that names you are identifying your setup basically, whatever you created it. So those are the environments basically. So when you create with different networks, in the networks these configurations can be made it with 2 tier or 3 tier architecture. The differentiation is the network names only.
okay,
In that network they talk to that servers only, they don't talk to other network servers unless you peer it, you connect it, you instruct it, you talk to that particular server.
okay.
There is a network peering, right?
Yeah, the network pairing means the NIC network interface card is there.
No. Network peering is vnet, you have created one vnet.
Yeah, yeah, network pairing.
Now
Yeah,
You have
Hmm.
VNet 2. In VNet 2, you have another database server and you have app server and web server in VNet 1. It means
Hmm.
when you go to the web blog site, the blog is creating in a database. Where it is creating, it is connected to VNet 2 database server.
Hmm.
That is called peering between the networks. It is called VPC peering.
Hmm.
If you see my app AWS theory sessions, there is a digital
Hmm.
course. In that I have discussed all these things, different VPC peering networks, how you can design it in cloud. Basically, that
Hmm.
name is on AWS, but I have discussed in a generic form how traditional networks were there with peering, how cloud networks are there with peering, what kind of
Hmm.
combinations can be there, all those things.
Hmm.
So, the same way you have to identify the networks. The environment is identified through the network only.
Hmm.
Okay. You take a
Okay.
physical infrastructure also, it is the same. Logical infrastructure also, it is the same. Fast network is nothing but one house identification. In that house,
Hmm.
what are the articles you kept it, everything can be identified. Let us say you have same kind of houses, four houses are there side by side. How are you going to identify the house? Through the house number.
Hmm.
Here, what is the number for network? VPC, VNet, name.
Hmm.
So tags, all those things you can give it for tracking inventory purpose. VM's inventory, how many gateways are there, all those things. So here it means the deployment or pipelines need to be planned for different environments for processing the software development lifecycle before deployment. Once it is
Hmm.
done, the final pipeline is attached to the ops operations side, operational environment, that is live
Hmm.
environment. That's where the pipeline is exercised at. In the pipeline, it shows how many builds you have connected and how many builds are deployed into different environments. One environment is through, then those guys are saying to proceed with another deployment. Another deployment is nothing but your next phase of the testing or next phase of activities.
Hmm.
That's where we do in the physical testing, right? SDLC.
Yeah. Hmm.
The same way it is operated in the pipeline. So those all coming in the workflows to show how many builds are planned it and what are the
Hmm.
pipelines planned it. All those things will be shown in the workflow. Then executing and monitoring the pipeline with Azure DevOps. After creation, Azure DevOps automatically executes based on triggers like source repository commits. So what is source repository? You have a source code
Hmm.
inserted by the developer, checked in by the
Yeah.
developer, then that is the repository. So, how many repositories are committed means you can have multiple repositories for single build deployment also, or multiple repositories can have multiple deployments also. Why multiple deployments with one repository? Because multiple developers will work or multiple code releases can be there in the deployments. Let us say e-commerce site, if you take it, there is a net gateway issue, configuration is not working, then one need to give
Hmm.
configuration file, that is one deployment. Then another thing is shopping cart is not working, there is some issue, then there is another deployment. Then another guy is search option is not showing correct items, so strings are not catching up. So they need to change the scale for getting the right string, right? That is another
Hmm.
deployment in the e-commerce system itself. Then another thing is when you when you click add to the cart, it is not adding up. It is adding more than one item or some other items. It is adding it. There is a code defect that is fixed.
Hmm.
It all these changes, all these work requests are pipeline for deployment. But
Hmm.
if there is a dependency, what is the first one to go, what is the second one to go, that kind of plan also will be there in the pipeline. Otherwise, it
Hmm.
is a parallel deployments, multiple pipelines can be created. It. So all those things, whatever we are creating, it is going to show in the monitor. So
Mm.
monitoring will be like a dashboard. So monitoring progress is user friendly in Azure DevOps dashboard. Basically, DevOps has got its own dashboard.
Mm.
Provide visual representation of stages and actions for easy tracking. It means if with single deployment, you will not be able to see the difference of the dashboard. If you have multiple deployments pipelined it, multiple code things are pipelined it, you can do it. If you remember, long back I discussed with you, you need to get some PHP application which can have some CRUD application. Then another
Okay.
application is WordPress. These two can
Yeah.
be pipelined it, I told. So
Yeah.
in that pipelines, what happens when you deploy it? You, always code when you are checking in, you press the button in the repository, it will go and show in the dashboard it is deployed.
Yeah.
Even if you take Jenkins, also it has got the same dashboard.
Yeah.
Multiple
Mm.
builds can be scheduled in Jenkins also, because
Yeah.
Jenkins was the first CI/CD tool. Okay, after
Mm.
that, cloud services came. So all these things, it is easy to tracking also with these stages also. Okay, then pipeline
Yeah.
update, deletion best practices. Updating a pipeline involves accessing it via Azure DevOps portal, adjusting configurations and saving changes. So these are the things it is happening operations wise. Efficient management practices are also applied to the process of deleting a pipeline. Basically,
Mm.
if one pipeline is not required, you can delete it. So it will
Yeah.
not appear on the dashboard. That is the best practice. So
Mm.
supplementary considerations for Azure DevOps. What are those? Best practices include using multiple stages for different environments. The environment is different, stage is different. Okay,
Mm.
the stage is like you you keep one build for testing purpose. You can use it as a stage also. That stage is a process related activity. Environment is a physical activity, physical creation of the activity. Okay, that need to be
Okay.
planned by the DevOps engineer. How many stages it can be deployed into particular environment.
Okay.
Then
Include using
how
multiple
many
stages.
environments can be planned
Mm.
with the different stages,
Applications,
all
different
those
stages,
things. Okay.
and leveraging its
Then
scalability and flexibility. Okay. To
The-
optimize
Then
testing.
setting
Yeah.
up notifications for status changes. So
Yeah.
notifications are part and parcel. You need to check the flags there. And
Okay.
leveraging is its scalability and flexibility to optimize testing, deployment, operational efficiency. I discussed with you. Different activities are there during deployment.
Yeah.
So HDLC process need to be followed. It okay.
Mm.
Then, by following this structured process and incorporating best practices, developers can harness the full potential of Azure DevOps to streamline CI/CD workflows effectively. So these are the ways you can do that. And what are the benefits of using DevOps CI/CD? So one is using DevOps CI/CD offers several benefits. One is automation and efficiency. Azure DevOps automates release pipelines, ensuring fast and reliable application updates. This automation
Mm.
streamlines the software release process, enhancing efficiency in development workflows. See, one is deployment automation can be made, but within the
Mm.
deployment, you need to create the environment. For creating
Mm.
environment, you need Terraform script or Azure ARM templates or Python, whatever code you are well versed
Mm.
by converting the infrastructure creation, IAC need to be used. But
Mm.
on top of that, you are using that scripts to run it on particular environments. You have to
Mm.
create the environments. To create the environment, you need Terraform script. On top of that, you are deploying the code. If you see the WordPress deployment,
Mm.
first you are going to create the network and the required resources setup, cloud resources setup.
Mm.
What is the starting point? VPC name creation, VPC IPs. Then ending is you are creating the virtual missions.
Mm.
Okay, you can't say installing Apache web server is one of the part of the virtual missions. No, that is a deployment.
Mm.
Am I right?
Yeah.
So you have to segregate the activities in the WordPress project itself.
Mm.
What is the infrastructure environment? Infrastructure environment is I need to create the two-tier or three-tier architecture.
Mm.
Later, I'm going to deploy my code. After that, I'm going to upgrade the database by adding the database. All the activities you need to show separately when you demonstrate about the product deployment.
Mm.
Then you have to create those as a stages. While creating the environment, we discussed about stages. First
Mm.
stage is I want to create environment for three-tier architecture.
Mm.
Then second stage is I'm going to integrate the code by deploy after deployment. Then
Mm.
after that, I'm releasing to testing. That is third stage.
Mm.
Then fourth stage is yes, the fourth stage is not there. Third stage is test results. Okay. Then these are the three stages I want to apply for different environments for different kinds of tests.
Mm.
Right? So that way you are going to plan the release pipelines. So integration with Azure services. Azure DevOps seamlessly integrate with various Azure services, allowing for a comprehensive workflow and enhanced functionality. It is part and parcel of the infrastructure setup, basically.
Mm. Mm.
Okay, apart from that, the DevOps also can integrate with the different services also. It depends on the scenarios. Okay. So
Mm.
cost effectiveness wise, if you see, utilizing Azure DevOps can offer cost advantages compared to other CI/CD solutions, particularly due to its integration with Azure services. So Azure
Mm.
DevOps is integrated with Azure cloud services within the Azure
Mm.
cloud services. Hence, it don't need APIs to connect to some other platform or something to call that like
Mm.
external to the cloud services setup cloud platform.
Mm. Mm.
Let us say you have database in offshore on premises. Now that database need to read and bring some data. That is part of the deployment prerequisites. Then what you are supposed to write?
Mm.
You are supposed to write one script and deploy it for connecting to Active Directory setup. Then later on connecting to database server of on-premises. Then get the data, convert that into file, then bring that and insert in the database, in the
Mm.
actual application database. Then the application need to be deployed on top of that. Then application need to execute it by bringing the data to the
Mm.
users. That is the requirement. Assume that.
Mm.
Then obviously, whatever applications we are planning it, we can plan with the Azure cloud services. We don't need to have it. So whatever is existing in the on-premises data, that can be moved into cloud services. Create one database server. SQL data DB is there, right, in Azure,
Yeah.
or use web application. In that, put the database, right?
Mm.
Then fourth one is speed of execution. Azure DevOps is known for its speed of execution, ensuring a responsive and timely workflow based on predefined triggers like commits to the resource source repository. So basically, here
Mm.
timely workflows will be there. Timely workflow means you can schedule it. Scheduler can be used it here. So within the
Mm.
Azure DevOps itself, you can schedule pipelines, you can schedule deployment, you can schedule for stages also. All those things can be done it like a
Mm.
systematic way. So fifth one is reliability and scalability. The fully managed nature of Azure DevOps ensures reliability in automating release pipelines for applications. Additionally, its scalability allows for orchestrating complex CI/CD workflows seamlessly, catering to various project needs. In DevOps, what is the scalability? Can you assume and tell me? Can you expect
In DevOps,
scalability means?
uh, scalability means so scalability means if you have a code to be deployed for an application, and you have to define how many machines you have to deploy it on. So you have to, so some, uh, so so there has to be a tool that gauges the load on the application, and it has to keep deploying for multiple machines if the load increases. And if the load decreases, it has to pull out the machines, the deployed machines.
So
So
that
this,
is the scaling option, nowhere
okay,
connected with DevOps. DevOps is deploying the code updates in the scalability. In that
mm,
infrastructure scalability, it doesn't contain the new code. It uses the existing code only.
yeah,
You say in Thanksgiving Day and Christmas season,
yes,
you
yeah,
assume e-commerce application is there. It is running. Now they will have the existing application setup only. With the existing application setup, when the users are increased it is going to add different VPCs in different locations.
yeah,
Then it is going to set up that kind of environment, replica of
mm,
the existing environment. It is going to deploy. It is going to
yeah,
set up.
that is
That is
scaling. Yeah,
scaling. But in the scaling, you are
yeah,
not using a different code. You are using the
yeah,
same
yeah,
setup.
same code. Yeah,
Yes, right. But
you're just
in
replicating. Yeah,
yeah, that is called replicating. But
yeah.
here, DevOps scalability means,
Oh, oh,
let us
okay.
say,
Mm,
one code is there. One code
mm,
you are using to deploy in one location.
mm,
Then the same builds can be scaled up to different locations once it is
mm,
approved with the first environment, first location.
mm-hmm.
You can keep on deploying on different regions.
Yeah.
It is a deployment activity. It is not scaling up application. Deployment, when it happens, if it is existing already one environment, on top of that, you are upgrading the code.
Mm-hmm.
See, you have four laptops in your house. Assume that.
Yeah.
Now, when you bought the new laptop needs from the scratch building everything.
Mm-hmm.
But in the existing laptops, I will say there is a new virus software has come. Why don't you
Mm,
upgrade? So upgrade where it happens in the existing laptops. New laptop
yeah.
doesn't need upgrade because it has got built in with upgrades latest upgrade as on today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. The same way here also, the upgrades need to happen in the environments. The upgrade scalability can be enhanced. It. At the same time, the same environments can be extended it with scalability option also. In parallel to that, the pipeline is happening in upgrade scaled, newly scaled environments also.
No, I don't understand the difference what you explained. So you're saying, let's say I'd already deployed an application in East US region.
Hmm.
Let's say, for example, okay. Now there was an update to my application, correct? When
Hmm.
the update is there, the update has to be applied again in the East US region. So that is just
Hmm.
updating. You are changing the
Hmm.
version of your application. Basically, that's changing the version of your application with new
Hmm.
updates, right?
Hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
if you want to deploy it in a different region, that is scaling only, right? If you, let's say someone is trying to hit
No,
your
no, different
application.
region. When you are saying deployment.
Hmm,
Deployment where it happens, if already existing infrastructure is there, on top of that you are deploying the code. The definition for the
okay.
deployment is you should have an existing environment.
Yeah.
Scalability is what? Infrastructure size is increasing.
Yeah.
What is the size? The network size.
Yeah. You're adding more machines.
Not, don't say machine, so it is
Hmm,
all scaling environment, scaling the
okay.
business infrastructure. Infrastructure contains
Yeah.
within the networks.
Yeah. Okay.
When
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
talk
Yeah. I
scaling up,
understand.
it starts with network configuration first.
Yeah.
After that, servers will go into the network. You
Yeah.
can't
That is
place
true.
the server directly without creating the network, without designing the network. It means there is
Yeah.
already existing environment. Now you say US East 1 is there. East 1 has got already existing environment. There
Yeah.
only deployment will happen. Let us say Florida is there. In Florida, you don't have
Mm,
anything for this application. You need to
mm,
create the basic infrastructure. After that,
mm,
only the new builds can be applied it. Now, let us say Amazon.com is there in 130 plus countries. So there are new countries they want to deploy this US based .com. Now, in
mm,
the new countries, if they want to apply the new features of the e-commerce site, there should be environment.
mm,
So far, it is not set up the environment, not install the application. If you want to install the application, there should be environment, cloud environment for that application.
mm,
Infrastructure need to be created first.
mm.
Then later on, code can be deployed. It after deploying the code, new code need to be applied. It for that, lot of upgrades need to happen within the database also.
Yeah.
There are series of activities they need to apply. So all
Mm.
these series of activities, whatever you are applying, these are the technical activities, not the infrastructure related activities
Even
related with
software related.
deployment, software related. Software
Mm,
related activities are deployment only. Infrastructure activities are related with scalability. In scalability, what is related with infrastructure scaling? When you
yeah.
say infrastructure scaling, parallelly the deployments also can follow that. Now let
Yeah.
us
The
say
deployments also. Yeah. Yeah. That is true. Yeah.
now let us say one new site need to be established with .com. In one country, they established they are running very well. Now, incrementally, they need to deploy that site in different locations using the cloud environment.
Mm,
Okay. So, when they are happy with the first version of the deployment, first version of the site setup, they felt like there are some more features need to be added. Now in the location 1, they added all those features. Now
mm,
location 2, 3, 4, they have planned to create the environments. This
mm,
creation of the environment is related with scalability.
mm,
That scalability, how it happens, the existing environment they are taking from the location 1 as
mm-hmm.
image, the
Yeah.
scaling auto scale feature, load balancers, network routing, all those resources are going to work to set
Mm,
up kind of setup in particular location 2. The same thing
mm,
will happen in location 3, location 4. Then
yeah.
these people plan for deploying the code. When the
Mm,
other environments are ready, then they are going to deploy the code. It follows
yeah.
along with scalability also.
Mm,
Now I'll ask one question.
mm-hmm.
Now you designed a product with a lot of generative AI packages.
Mm,
Translator is there, text conversion is there, video,
mm,
audio, speech to video or audio is there.
mm,
Then you have some kind of scanner
mm,
software also, like form
mm,
designer.
mm,
Then you have personalization work also, you have done it. All these things,
mm,
you made it as a product. Then you have
mm,
clear specifications and they are all given with icons in a
mm,
website.
mm,
Then that website you are going to deploy in one location one. Okay.
mm,
Then after that, you plan to deploy to other users also for the
mm,
same business users, business
mm,
customer. Then they give three more locations. Then what are you going to do? You are going to scale up that.
mm. Yeah.
For scale up options, you can give it within the auto scale options. You can deploy in these locations, all these things. When when I trigger that particular dates, okay,
Yeah.
then that is going to be deployed it, or you can use independently the IAC can be executed independently without using the scaler option, auto scale option. And then you can create three more environments. Now all four are
Mm-hmm.
equal. Now you say, no, I have some more generate patches for the existing systems. I want to implement in these locations. Then what are you going to do? You are going to pipeline it for four environments, four locations.
Yeah.
Okay. For four locations, pipelines are created. Then you trigger that code. Now upgraded the code in GitOps. GitOps or this Azure repository. Anyone you can use it. Then immediately they are going to trigger that pipeline activities one by one. It is going to deploy it. Then in dashboard it comes deployed in location 1, 2, 3, 4. It shows in the dashboard.
Yeah.
So along with the scalability of the environments, the deployments also follows that.
Yeah.
Okay, no confusion in that. You need to understand
Yeah.
one thing. Infrastructure starts with networking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you keep in mind, each network is different. Each network is one environment. That's all. Simple. We can't say if it is a
Yeah.
three-tier architecture, private network is one environment, public network is one environment. No, not like that. We should call. We should call net
Mm.
overall the network is one environment. Within the network, the private and public subnet servers are different.
Mm.
Okay. Then use cases. Let us see use cases and deployment scenarios. Azure DevOps is utilized by various companies for different use cases. What are those? Cross region and cross account deployment. I discussed with you just now this part.
Yeah.
Cross regions are multiple regions you can do it. Locations. Integration with other Azure services. Azure DevOps integrates with other services, allowing for cohesive and enhanced workflow. Basically, okay. It all case to case it varies. Okay, the other services means use with third-party action providers. Azure DevOps can integrate with third-party products like GitHub, Jenkins, allowing for more flexible and customizable CI/CD process tailored to specific project needs. Yes, obviously. So it can be integrated with external tools also like Jenkins or GitHub. Using with Azure Functions and Azure Kubernetes services. Azure DevOps is used
Mm.
to automate the deployment of serverless applications and containerized applications, ensuring efficient and reliable delivery to the cloud. Yes, we know that. Okay. These use
Mm-hmm.
cases demonstrate how Azure DevOps is utilized by various companies to streamline their CI/CD process, automate deployments, and ensure efficient software delivery management. Basically,
Mm.
this is the way they are planning it. So this is
Mm.
all about how Azure CI/CD pipelines can be planned it and it can be used for effective deployments, automated
Yeah.
deployments. Okay.
Mm.
Now you got the clarity, right?
Yeah.
Right.